and thank you for having me on the show.
Well, thank you so much for sparing us your time and joining us this morning. And Tando will be joining us shortly as well. So maybe to start off our discussion, my question to you is, this dialogue that we are talking about, the press conference that was blocked, it was meant to bring together speakers from different backgrounds, civil society, academics, politicians, and so forth. Why was it important to have such a broad mix of voices in one space? And what was the purpose of holding this kind of dialogue or press conference in the first place?
Thank you, Nonhlanhla. Nonhlanhla, I think I will want to take the listeners through the history lane and take them to 2013, when Zimbabweans, coming from a divergence of sectors and sections and communities, came together and unanimously endorsed a constitution that then became known as the Zimbabwe Constitution 2013, or Amendment number 20. Now, if you look at that constitution generally, it was a constitution that was put up by citizens in order to curb and curtail some excesses that were emanating from a very powerful presidential office, and a character who then was President Robert Mugabe, whom they perceived to have exercised his presidential powers in excess or to the discomfort of the general public of this country. So because of that diversity of the people who put up that constitution in 2013, it is incumbent and it is important and critical that at a time such as this one, when the same constitution and the same architecture of use of presidential power is under attack, it becomes important that people come together from across the divide of the communities, because what is being attacked is not just political interests. What is being attacked is the very essence of democracy in this country, which is what led to the previous Chimurengas in this country. And therefore, when that very essence of what sent people to war is being attacked, every Zimbabwean is therefore forced to come together and say, how can we defend this? And this is why, therefore, the composition of the panel that was meant to put up a presser on Tuesday, comprised of people coming from various sectors of society, from the church, from the politics, from civil society, from vendors, from residents associations. So people found a rallying cause, something that united everyone, brought them together. And indeed, people had come in numbers.
Well, thank you so much for answering that question, Honorable. And, as you have stated, the importance of this meeting and the composition as well of the speakers as well. And I'd like to find out from you to say, seeing the SAPO's offices being attacked and the meeting in Blair being blocked, what message do these incidents send to civil society and other players are trying to engage citizens on constitutional issues?
It sends one chilling message that the democratic space is going to shrink further under this government, especially as its term of office is coming to an end. It also sends a message to everyone that Mnangagwa is resorting to his default way of responding to citizens. We are not surprised because we are always aware that even in the days of Robert Mugabe, he was the main enforcer of violence against the citizens. And therefore, now that he is in the forefront and is the head of the government, his true colors are coming to show. He does not want to be disturbed in his endeavor to become King Numtapa. Remember, he has said that several times. That is King Numtapa, and that he has celebrated his birthday on the same day that the King Numtapa Day was put on the day of his own birthday. So basically, this is a sign to Zimbabweans that he is not going to relent. He is highly daring, and history has shown it that the man is daring when he wants to access power. So citizens, the civic society, and everyone has to be prepared for a turbulent ride ahead of us in order for us to stop these machinations that he intends to do.
And also, looking at, from your perspective as both a lawyer and a politician, are we seeing a pattern of, intimidation, state-sponsored intimidation, or are these isolated incidents being politicized?
This is not, there's nothing isolated or there's nothing being politicized. This is a very clear attack, and the attack is a reflection of a panicky government that knows that this constitutional amendment that they want to put in place is unpopular with the citizens. So that one they are aware, and therefore this response with violence that we saw in Harare, and even the response that we saw in Bulawayo. Look. In Bulawayo, when we went to the Bulawayo Club for the press conference, we did not only find security people. We also find hired bouncers that were working in collaboration with the security sector. So we saw a conflation and a collaboration between the security sector and ZANU-PF party members. So what this means is that what we are going to face ahead, it won't be just the reactions of the institutions of the state, but we will find a conflation of institutions of the state and other people who are not shown to policy or to provide security in this country. And therefore, there won't be that accountability that we expect. In fact, you will find a scenario where members of the security sector who are aligned or who are pro-2030 or pro-amendment of the Constitution will work outside the normal command structure of the security institutions to inflict pain and violence on citizens, and in order to cow them from questioning this intended amendment of the Constitution.
Well, thank you so much, Honorable Prince Dubeko VOWS, for responding to the questions that I asked earlier on as we were speaking about what happened at the SAPES Trust offices and also the press conference that was stopped in Bulawayo. Guys, if you're just joining us, welcome to This Morning on Asake. Today we're talking about defending the Constitution, and the question is, who really owns Zimbabwe's future? Our guest this morning, Honorable Prince Dubeko VOWS, together with Tando Gwenji. Please feel free to join in the discussion. If you have any questions or contributions, you can request the mic or share them in the comment section. Honorable Spanda, yesterday we had a discussion really about what citizens can do to defend the Constitution, and here you had come together as individuals from different sectors trying to defend the Constitution. And I would still want to ask you this morning to say, how can citizens lawfully and peacefully resist any push to extend President Mnangagwa's term beyond beyond 2028. What are the options within the Constitution itself, and all the peaceful and lawful means of resisting this move for those who are against it? Over to you, Honorable Swanda.
Yeah, thank you, Nonhlanhla. You see, the problem with what ED and his cabal want to do, is that they want to circumvent the lawful means of amending a constitution. That's why you have seen a lot of ulabalu on social media and in media generally about whether this is a term limit amendment or not. It is very clear that that is a term limit amendment. In fact, the courts have already pronounced themselves on the relevant section, that is a term limit clause. And that because it is a term limit clause, there are certain issues that need to be done. Firstly, an incumbent cannot benefit out of it. And because an incumbent cannot benefit out of it, it means that Mr. Mnangagwa would therefore not be able to benefit out of that amendment if it were going to be met. And that because it is a term limit clause, then therefore it means that people have to have a say. So there should be a referendum upon which then people will say, indeed, we agree that this term limit be extended or be changed. But he will not dare do that because he is aware that the majority of people will not agree. So what does he want to do? Firstly, he made sure that he compromised Parliament. He made sure that Parliament was compromised so that he can then attain to the 2/3 majority. Now he wants to try and use that compromised Parliament to achieve his ends. Basically, then it comes to light why Chabang was created. Chabang was an ED 2030 project. So he thinks now he has got Parliament in his pocket, and therefore, as a result, he can play around with Parliament as he wills. And that leaves us as the citizens exposed, because the institutions that are supposed to represent us, that are supposed to be our voices, are no longer our institutions. They've become institutions of the incumbent president. So that means that we've got nothing to do, or there is nothing we can do to stop that. No, that's not it. We need to mobilize ourselves. We need to organize ourselves. The church, we know that part of the church has become compromised, but we are aware that there is a part of the church which remains principled and remains with the people. So we need to come together, either in churches or in communities or in political parties, using structures that are currently existent. There are structures that are existent in churches. There are structures that are existent in communities. I can tell you that in some communities you'll find even there's a borehole committee, a ward committee, and all those committees have now to be transformed from whatever role that they are playing to become an anti-2030 committee. So once we do that resistance, we begin to have communities on their own, wherever they are, resisting against this 2030, the pressure will be felt. If that pressure is not felt, at the end of the day, we have got a right in terms of the Constitution to picket. If he is going to insist to use Parliament against the legal advice that is being given all over, then the citizens will be left with no option other than to go and picket at Parliament and make sure that Parliament does not open its doors in order to deliberate on this law. So one way or the other, the only way to stop this is that citizens will have to stand up either in streets or picketing at Parliament itself. Those are the options that we have However, we need to start with passive resistance in churches, in communities, and everywhere where we interact as citizens. That passive resistance has to begin, and has to begin now, so that Mnangagwa can then feel the heat of not trying to pursue this act of trying to make himself a king or an imperial president of this country. So that's what citizens need to do. We need to share information now. We need to conscientize everyone to understand why this is not good for this country. And once the citizens understand in their communities, they will be able to stand up and they'll be able to resist what this government is trying to do. You know, at times I was just seeing some comments on X when I indicated that after Tanzania it will be us. All along, people never thought that Tanzanians will one day stand up against a dictatorship that is happening in its country. But just look at what has happened. So he doesn't have to stretch the patience of the people too far. There will come a day when people will say, oh, and surely, he's slowly pushing them to that level.
Well, thank you, Honorable Sibanda, for responding to that question. And I see there are people who have joined the discussion, joined the speakers to engage with you and to share their views and thoughts on today's discussion. I will start with Simuka Zimbabwe. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me today. I represent the Gen Z, the youth, and I have two questions for Honorable. One is with what's happening, like they are planning to extend the term to 2030. I just want to ask to understand, like, what is it with the power that wants them to keep in power like that? As far as I'm a concerned citizen, and as I assume they are also citizens of Zimbabwe, which would like to see Zimbabwe proceeding, why is it they want to stick in power when they're given that for over 45 years, they have been doing nothing to progress Zimbabwe's economy rather than just destroying it? Then the second question I have is not as a question, but as a comment, a critic on what's happening. Like, many of the times we hear that they hire goons. When you plan to have meetings, they disrupt your lawful activities, and you complain about all that. You take the matters to the court, and they use the courts also against the opposition to their favor. So as the youth, when we see this happening, like they come to you, they violate the constitution against you, then you complain about that, you go to the courts, they use the courts in their favor, and the case then gets closed. We lose hope. We truly don't know what to do on that scenario. So we would want to know, like, if they are taking the courts to their side, they are taking the parliament in their pockets, as you were saying, and they are making everything under them, how can we fight this then? Thank you.
Well, thank you, Simuka Zimbabwe. Because you have two questions, I would ask Honorable Sibanda to respond to you, and then we'll take the other speakers. Over to you, Honorable.
Thank you, Nonhlanhla. Simuka Zimbabwe, why do they want to remain in office? I guess these are the trappings of power. I guess this is how people get drunk with power and the benefits that are attendant to it. But to be honest, some of us do not really see the motivation why a person would want to perpetuate his leadership beyond what is provided by the law, unless if that person wants to perpetuate their family interests other than the interests of the whole country. Remember, the reason why these term limits were put in place, they were put in place to ensure that when a person gets into office, they are always conscious to the fact that they will be only in office for a short period of time. And that as much as they might enjoy immunity during the time that they are in office, that immunity would expire in 10 years' time. And therefore, that would then make sure that everyone in their conduct in this highest office that they'll be occupying, they conduct themselves in a manner that is aware that I might face consequences in future. So when you see them wanting to extend their tenure of office, it is because they have seen that there's something that they have done, and they want to protect themselves against any form of retribution or punishment or accountability by the nation. So that is the chief, those are the chief drivers of the motivation to extend and to remain in office. But in ordinary circumstances, look, once a president will always be a president. And it was always unfortunate that we are possibly the only country in Africa and in SADC countries, that in SADC region, that doesn't have a former president who is surviving and whom you can then relate to and take counsel from. Now the reason is because we had this appetite for people to remain in office and to remain in office forever. And with the current one, we all see the level of looting, which at times is actually done in very official ways. We have seen how much looting has taken place in this country, but we have also seen that these institutions such as Mutapa Investment Fund, which is not subject to any parliamentary oversight, which is protected from any kind of accountability to anyone. So this is a systematic way of trying to loot the resources of this country, and in order to do that properly, they want then to make sure that they muzzle all institutions of accountability. So basically, I think that is the basis that makes people to want to perpetuate their rulership. Now, what should we do? You know what? One thing that I've realized is that these people who are causing so much chaos to this country are just a few. They are powerful because they've got a lot of money. But in terms of numbers, they are quite a few. Quite a few. I doubt that those people can number up to half a million. I doubt. There are far less people who are enjoying from this current government. And therefore, what does it mean? It means that we are the majority. We might not have the money, but we are the majority. Our numbers can be utilized to leverage what we want as a country. Remember, even the Constitution itself indicates that the mandate to govern is derived from the people. So it is us in our numbers, the Gen Zs, the youth. Just look at what other youths are doing in other countries. Look at Kenya, look at Cameroon, look at Tanzania today. The youth are standing up. They are not spending their time on mtoriro and other drugs. They are spending their time on agonizing about what their future is going to be, even after university, even after high school. Do we all have to be in the diaspora and in exile? Do we all have to leave our country because we have not stood up to a government that is not doing things properly? I think no. I think as a people, we can begin to overcome our fear. We can begin to overcome our cowardice and stand up for what is right and reclaim our country to ourselves, so that those who govern us understand that they govern at our mercy, that they govern at our consent, and that without our consent, they cannot govern us. Yes, we can become ungovernable if we agree to. And if we organize ourselves we can decide to be ungovernable. We can decide to take back the mandate that we have given to those that are governing us, and then replace them with those that are going to govern us in the manner that we want to be governed.
Thanks for responding to that. I'm seeing comments at our ZW says the voice of the people is the voice of God. And Simuka Zimbabwe says, wow, that's the best explanation I've received so far. Thank you. Karatizo says, unfortunately for some, the Constitution is not written in stone. It's a living document that breathes with the people. When society shifts, so must its laws. The majority of voices shape its evolution and development, democracy in motion. That being said, hashtag election 2028. Let's hear from Fungai. Good morning, Fungai. What are your questions or contributions this morning?
Good morning, host. Good morning, Honorable Sibanda. Thank you for opening the platform. I mean, we were in another platform yesterday where Honorable Sibanda and some of his colleagues were giving us insight into what happened on the day of the press conference, and also getting to hear of what happened in Blue Air and all that. I will not go into the semantics or unpacking of that. We all know what the system is trying to do. This is a big target for them, and they do not want, in fact, they were not anticipating any pushback on this issue. But should there be pushback, I'm sure they are trying to snuffle it out as soon as possible, so that people then go back into their corners. What I wanted to ask Honorable is that yesterday, Sikala read from a document that Gwisai had sent through. It would be very interesting for Honorable, possibly if he has it, to read it again for us, and then if he can, to just unpack it, because it was not unpacked yesterday, the document on the way forward. It would be good to hear what is the way forward in terms of what they've decided to make public. I am aware as individuals, they are quite aware of the fact that if they put too much information in the public domain, the system is obviously listening. We've got some of them here. So if he can unpack that, which was already made public, he has probably said some before when he was saying a few things earlier, but if you could unpack it again for us, so that we see where we can bring our hands on this particular mission.
Well, thank you, Fungai. Over to you, Honorable Sibanda.
Thank you, Fungai. I hear your question, and I appreciate that. Indeed, yesterday we, in our engagements, we had tasked Mnangagwa to concretize the talking points for the way forward. However, I am not able currently to unpack it in the manner that you might have anticipated me to do so. And the reason is not only because of the fear of the system becoming aware of what is being planned, but mainly my fear is that we want to exhaustively engage on the way forward. And remember, what has always made these things to fail is to reduce such programs and projects into some elitist issues. We want this to be, and I'm sure you heard yesterday that one of the way forward is to make sure that this is as non-elitist as possible. And therefore, what we agreed upon needs to be discussed further with other stakeholders. Remember, it's not all stakeholders that have already come on board. So we don't want then for this thing to be chinu cha ningi na ningi na ningi. We want it to be owned at least by all stakeholders. So discussions on that document are still ongoing. And because of that, Fungai, I am not at liberty to unpack what I can call the way forward. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Honorable Sibanda. Let's hear from Mandaza Douglas. Good morning, Mandaza Douglas.
Good morning, Nonhlanhla. Good morning to all the other listeners. Honorable Sibanda, thank you for coming on and kind of like galvanizing us to get into action as well and to try and resist this constitutional amendment that is being done by the ZANU-PF government. Yesterday we spoke about the constitutional and the way that this project didn't start just last year or this year, but how this project is started way back from 2013 and way back when the farm thing started. But what we've also seen during the constitutional making in 2010, 2000 and things, where there's a video, there's a film called The Democrat, which was filming in terms of the Zimbabwe constitution making. The same people that are coming in today, when they were putting these amendments, they were vocalizing that these amendments need to be done after Mugabe has left, because this was not fair, was not going to be fair enough to try and cut President Mugabe powers. So it needs to be done after President Mugabe is done. We've seen people like Paul Mangwana, how he was scared in terms when they do the negotiations with the cutting the powers of the presidential term limits, how he actually appeared terrified that, he can receive death threats from the ZANU-PF in terms of these changes. But us as the people, we need to be able to resist this. So we need everyone, all the hands on the decks as well, to be able to resist this. I've been speaking with fellow, our neighboring country, Zambia. I think they're also experiencing the same. So some of the journalists and some of the lawyers that I spoke to, they're also mentioning that they're starting to build like a coalition of civil society to be able to try and resist Halichilema also attempt to change the constitution as well. But they also spoke about infiltration from the CIOs, infiltration and things. This is in Zambia. So we're also now witnessing something similar. So I do understand, Dubeko, when you're saying that some of the things you're not at the liberty to discuss, because this is also happening in neighboring things. We've seen what has been happening in Tanzania, and we've seen who's active, who's going within these countries where these demonstrations are happening in Kenya. Somebody is being the foot soldier who's been sent there to be able to do this. But we gotta be able to resist this as much as we can. So all of us, we need to really to work together. One of the other things of the resistance, what I was thinking about is that if there's a press conference, we shouldn't be announcing one press conference. We should be announcing several press conferences to try and see if they will be able to do this. And we also need to help our own minders and bouncers to come in and stop the things, this nonsense, because every voice is being silenced. From the media, from SEPs being bombed, from the attempt to do a press conference is being stopped. So they are really trying to attempt to stop everybody. But we want also the student movement to come in as well, and all the material in vernacular languages to be written, distributed on WhatsApp to resist this constitutional change by President Mnangagwa. As I said yesterday, this won't stop here. This is just the beginning. And your question is like, who really owns the Zimbabwe future? It's our youth. We need our youth to be out on the street and not to be sitting on the corners like somebody said, drinking in Mutoriro, because this future belongs to them. Not everybody. The countries that we were going to, like England, has cut back everybody. They don't want people in their nations. We are seeing the white supremacist resistance of immigration. They are stopping us from coming into their countries. And Zimbabwe is the only country that we have, and we have to be able to defend it tooth and nail. I'll end there for today.
Well, thank you so much, Amanda Zataklas, for your submission. And I think it's quite sad, really, looking at Africa and what is happening. As you are saying, you spoke of Zambia earlier on, we were speaking of Kenya, Tanzania, and so forth as well. We should be talking about moving on, growing our economies and so forth. But there's so much crisis around issues of the constitution, governance, and so forth. Well, any comments are there, Honorable Sibanda, from Mandaza's submissions?
Yeah, no, Mandaza, I really appreciate that you spoke well about our situation and the reasons why we need to galvanize each other and to stand up. Infiltration fears. Let me say that I doubt if there is any foolproof against infiltration. There's no infiltration proof strategies that can be implemented. What we only need to do is that we minimize infiltration as much as possible. But remember, we can also infiltrate them. There's no harm in us also trying to infiltrate them as they try to infiltrate us. But infiltration is something that we have to live with and only strategize to minimize it. And on the strategies of several press conferences, I appreciate that, Mandaza. I'm quite sure that when the coalition is going to meet again and to strategize on the next programs and projects, I'm quite sure several press conferences in each and every district can be a good strategy, or even a press conference in each and every city can be a strategy, and also a strategy on how to deal with this ceiling of our venues that we saw. Yes, self-defense might be one of them. Putting up our own defense mechanisms might be one of them. But look, at the end of the day, we don't want to be like them. They are violent because they don't care about this country. They only care about themselves. No wonder why they can then be able to start violence in that manner. So we should be also careful not to fall into their trap, where violence is going to beget violence, and then we have a country that will be consumed by violence. I'm sure one way to avoid that is, I was just thinking, I haven't discussed with other colleagues, but I was thinking, it is the security structure that stopped our press conferences. Maybe why not engage them? Let's hear what their problems are before we can take any hard measures. Maybe we take a soft measure and say, look, guys, we attempted to do this on this other day. Joke, can you come to a table? Let's hear what your problems are. What problems do you have with people discussing about issues that are affecting their personal and collective interests? So that can be another strategy. So we have to be very careful not to fall into their trap, because these guys, definitely what they want is to see an orgy of violence, and because they are so moneyed, and because they are able to buy military people from everywhere and bring them into the country in order to perpetuate that orgy of violence, so they see themselves as people who cannot be defeated. So let us not be tempted to get into that. Let's try by all means to be as peaceful as possible, but with a view to attain what we want to attain. I thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Honorable Sibanda. I see we have Charumbira joining us as well. Good morning, Charumbira. Welcome to the show.
Yes, good morning, Mas Mokase. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Charumbira. Please do go ahead.
Okay. All right, thank you. That should have because who really owns Zimbabwe's future? Obviously, is the future, is the youth, the young people, but also the reason why Mnangagwa wants Vision 2030 haisingori Vision 2030 chete, arikuda kuti ive kingdom. Saka mubvunzo wangu uri pakuti manje iyo Zimbabwe yaimbova kingdom here before the white man came. Is it the reason why Mnangagwa wants to take it back? Kuti Zimbabwe idzokere payakanga iri as a kingdom. So kana zviri izvo, isusu hatisiri kuda kingdom here, or hatisiri kuda wacho arikuda kuti azova a king, simply because he is not from the royal blood. I just want to understand where exactly what is it that we need to understand, because democracy ndo yatinoda, ndo yatajaira, ndo yatakura nayo. Ko kingdom yakashatira chii?
All right. Thank you for that, Charumbira. And before I bring back Honorable Swanda, I think Elisha wants to say something along those lines as well. Good morning, Elisha. Welcome to the show.
Morning. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for joining us. Please do go ahead.
Ndipita mukoma wangu Charumbira. Before colonization, and both things with this pressure and the ministerial ways in this warungu wakauya. So that issue is well known and it's even well documented in our own. Bengula wanana King Monomtapa, wanamakoni and the likes. So the idea to say zvakashate kudzokera ku kingdom yakanga iripo before colonized.
I'm sorry, I'm speaking to my Kenya minutes in to have about was that I'm still.
Yeah, Elisha, we can't hear you. You were breaking up as well. So maybe if you can maybe exit the space or change your connection and then rejoin the space and request the mic. I'll give you the mic. I'll bring you back on board.
Charumbira.
Elisha? Yeah, we can't hear from Elisha there. I hope he's going to come back. But yeah, Honorable Spanda, over to you on that one.
Thank you so much. Charumbira, very interesting questions that you have asked. I can authoritatively say that Zimbabwe, in the current shape that it is, or within the boundaries that it finds itself currently, there was no kingdom. That I can authoritatively say that there was no kingdom that was controlling Zimbabwe in the manner that it currently is. So there were fiefdoms and kingdoms in different areas, which even up to date, those kingdoms and fiefdoms are contested. And we don't want to get really deep into it, but they are highly contested, and the issues are quite contentious and divisive to the majority of this country. Because usually kingdoms were built upon military might against weaker people or weaker ethnic groups. They were built around numbers, that some have got more numbers than others, and usually there were fights between different groups because of desire to dominate others. Now, let's assume that Mnangagwa is a Karanga and he wants to become a king over Zimbabwe. Do I have, as a Tonga, have any obligation to be ruled by a Karanga king. No, I don't, because I'm not Karanga. He can be king in his ethnic group and not over everyone else. So there was no kingdom in Zimbabwe as it is historically, and it can't be now. Now, don't we want a kingdom? I'm not so sure whether others do, but at least from those that I interact with, no one wants a kingdom. Everyone wants a democratic society. Everyone wants a society in which leadership is elected on merit. No one wants leadership that is inherited, because there's nothing special about that family. We are all the same. We are all equal. And therefore we can't perpetuate a Mafidi dynasty. We also want one day to have Ndebele being a president of this country. We also want to see a Ncube one day being a president of this country. So we cannot tolerate intentions to turn the country into a kingdom. I'm sure if people want to test that, the best way to test it is to go to a referendum. Let's take that question to the referendum and ask the people, do you want a kingdom or you want a democratic state? And the people will answer. And whatever answer that the people in their majority would have given should enjoy the light of day. That's my response to you, Charumbira.
Well, thank you so much, Honorable. I'll take new speakers. I see Elisha is back as well. I'll add Elisha. So I'll take the new speakers and then we close off the show. Let me start with Fighter. Good morning. Welcome to the show. Please be brief, Fighter.
Good morning, host and other listeners. Do you hear me?
Very clearly. Please do go ahead.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, at first, I would like to appreciate the braveness here, Honorable Prince Dubeko VOWS, I mean. Followers wakanyanya kubva ku what he's doing ku constitutions kwao. E-constitution iri inotraiwa by all means. I remember ZANU-PF inoenda ikoko nemabhasikoro ichienda netunhu kwakawanda like twekuda kutry kuinteriza ma-residents ikoko kuti itore simba, but they fail because the honorable is someone very strategic and strong. Yeah, so I hopefully kuti tichavaramba tichiwana vanhu vakaita seivavavo in future fight against the ZANU-PF and Switzerland. Yeah, and then on the other issue concerning who really owns Zimbabwe's future, definitely we are citizens, the young generations, nevachauya kumberi, everybody owns it. But as it stands, ZANU-PF iri kutora as if ndiyo the owner of this country and ndo vanofana kuenjoya whatever zviri muno. Tichitotarisa iwo vaMnangagwa wacho, the way yawakatora president, it's wrong. Hongo wakabvuta president, but taitarisira kuti even wabvuta kudaro semabvutiro wakaita, dai vainzwisisa kuti munhu anonzi president munhu role yake ndeyei. Vakapinda paupresident in a way kuti vari kufunga kuti is the president of ZANU-PF. So vari kutora upfumi hwenyika, minerals, everything, taxes, kuti zvibenefite family yavo nevanhu vari muZANU-PF vari loyal kwavari. So mukaona pese pavanenge vachienda vachitenga mota vachidii, zviri kuitirwa vanhu veZANU-PF. They forgot kuti kune vana vadiki, kune vanhu vari neutral vasingatovhoti but ma-citizens, kune vanhu vasiri vemapato vasitori nazvo, and kune the old age, kune zvirema, kune whoever ari each state is a citizen anofanira kuitwa look after. But ivo vari kutora the resources for the benefit of people of ZANU-PF. They even take my state coffers, my taxes one, zvichindosheyiwa kuvanhu vezana. Mukanzwa pavari kutaura kuti mayouth, kuti tiri kuempower mayouth, look at it kuti ari kunzi mayouth acho ndewapi? Ndivo varakashiva vanenge variko kuzvimameeting zvavo and so forth, vachipiwa zvinhu, vachiimpaiwa, vachipiwa mamines, vachididi. And at the same time, havasi kutarisa kuti Zimbabwe haisi kugumira patiri chete, and kune the future vachauya. Look at machinese zvaari kuita, kuti vari kuchera pese pese, vari kudestroy marivers, vari kudestroy mamountains. Havasi kutarisa kuti environment chii chichazoitika, alright, for the next 30 years, for the next 50 years to come. Kune vana vari kuzvarwa vachada kuraramawo, vachadya chii vana ivava, vachawana chii? But as it stands, zvese zviri kunzi ndezvavo, and they don't look at izvo. And then lastly, if possible, honorable, ndichada kuti mundifollowewo back. Inini I think ndotokufollowai kudhara, so that ndizokwanisa kucommunicate newe. I might have a contribution per struggle iripo, but sometimes you don't find my leaders direct kukwanisa kutaura nawo, like inbox zvonongochifungawo kuti if this implemented it might help fight against dictatorship. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Fighter. Daraji, please do go ahead and remember to be brief, as
Good morning. Thank you very much, Nonhlanhla, and thank you very much, Kuna Honorable Prince, is Prince, and thanks for the information. But I want to say the regime is in a tight corner, and the regime has no people. That's what we can say. If they are scared of press statements, and then they start bombing people, then that shows how scared they are running. There is not going to be 2030 at all. The constitution is very prescriptive, and there's going to be elections in 2028. These are gimmicks. They also wanted to scare us. If you look at Tanzania, Tanzania is burning. Tanzania is burning. We know very well Wickner was part of the shenanigans. And we know what's happening in Kenya. Again, you saw the same criminal or convicted criminal running up and down. Of course, we don't want to talk about the money laundering and illicit financial flows that they were, what lines they were trying to open as they went where they were going. But it is backfiring. I think there's a captain who's about to take over, and then we'll have another Traore in Tanzania. Back home, we are going to resist any 2030. We are going to resist any extension of term limit by the incumbent. There's going to be a referendum if anything of that nature happens, and we'll force it. If you look at reforms, which many people talk about, I don't see any reforms coming from parliament or through parliament. Citizens will force the reforms on the day. And citizens should be preparing themselves as we speak now to defend their constitution. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're not apologetic of anything. We're not apologetic of anything. We are actually mobilizing the people. What would require from everyone is to set their mindsets. Everyone in the diaspora is coming home. Everyone else who is coming home for the 2030. There's not going to be a dynasty in our watch. That will not happen. The regime should know that there is not going to be any 2030. It is over our dead bodies, and there is quite a number of us that are prepared to going to be any 2030 at all, never. It is a resolution by some PF. In fact, they know very well, even people that are lawyers here, that it can't happen. It can't happen at all. So I don't know why they do that. I don't know why they do that. They want to In fact, the economy is also what matters most. If you look at the term, is that information filtered in the markets. There's nothing that is going on. Later on, there's no engagement, even with creditors, because of their looting of treasury bills. So, in a nutshell, we are. Prince, thank you very much. You guys went to, thank you very to ZANU-PF. That was wonderful, splendid. But now the citizens are saying no to 2030. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Daraji. Elisha, welcome once again. Please do go ahead with your submission. Remember to be brief as we are about to close off.
No, thank you very much. No, I was trying to respond to Charumbira in relation to the issue to do with the kingdom. The Chiti Zoni, as far as we know, pane zvinhu zvatinofanira kuadresa first, because tanga tisina artificial boundaries akaunzwa nevarungu aya, panga paine maclans akanga aripo nemaleaders akanga ariko. So akatarisa in every province maiva nemadzimambo akanga arimo, tanga tisina supreme leader as the king, which the way Mnangagwa is trying to create, that one is a distorted history to say Munomutapa was the king of Zimbabwe, because takatisina these artificial boundaries that were imposed on us. As far as Munomutapa, I don't stretch Mozambique. So are we telling me to say that Pacha created this Mafid dynasty at Mozambique? Why is he going to use the Zimbabwean boundaries as by these white people? But Berlin kwakaendwa nevarungu hakuna kuendwa nema-Africans. So when these guys were creating these boundaries, these artificial boundaries, they were doing it for colonization, not for the good of Africa. No wonder why you see that Africa is divided. Which we want to thank Mukoma Dubeko Banda. Kuti zvinhu zvamatanga kugona kuita ndezvekuti you find magona kuita to rise above mediocrity and find each other in politics and in the society. Chinhu chakagona kuitwa neZANU-PF ndechekuti vakacreate animosity
Yeah, we've lost Elisha again. I'm not sure if you can hear Elisha there, Honorable Swanda.
I only last heard him talking about that opposition figures found each other, and also that ZANU-PF was dividing the opposition. But I want to appreciate Elisha. What unites us is greater than what divides us. At most, when you find people divided amongst themselves, the cause of their division will not really be the common goal or the common objective. There will be personal and petty issues. So this is bigger than whatever petty issues we might have amongst ourselves. And therefore, for the purpose of advancing this common goal, I think there is no harm in people working side by side until we get to where we want to get to. I want also to appreciate Fighter. Fighter, I followed you back, and I'm quite sure that we can discuss. Thank you so much for the good comments. Daraji, thank you so much for the encouragement. And indeed, that is the way to go. Defiance is the way to go. Fear of fear itself is the way to go. We have to overcome fear for the first time and confront our issues. We cannot continue to be a laughing stock in each and every country where we are treated and denigrated as if we are subhumans just because we have allowed those who are governing us to govern us in an improper way. So yes, we have to stand for the good governance of our country. If we want to go outside our countries, that should be just as a matter of choice and not as a matter of need. So thank you so much, Nonhlanhla.
Well, thank you so much, Honorable. One last submission there. Good morning, Dobbs. Dobbs, good morning.
Yeah, morning. Thanks, Saiti, Princey, and others. to just unite with other citizens and come up to say this is a no-no. I know people are just laboring opposition, but there are churches, there are war veterans. There are those ones in ZANU-PF who are silent, who are just whispering to say this cannot be happening. So it cannot be happening. But for those who are in opposition, let's take this the opportunity now to unite and confront the real system, to say the system should break because we are not benefiting from anything. Removing 2030 and leaving ZANU-PF in power, we have done nothing. Or leaving the system which they have created in power, we have done nothing. It is the moment they have misinterpreted the law, especially the powers given to the president to say all the land belongs, in terms of communal lands, to say it belongs to him. He's also created a land implementation operate, they take the war resettled farmer because they are using own banks to buy and sell. And somebody from their camp would approve who buys and who sells. Meaning people who are like you, Prince, they might not approve you to buy any, which were, those ones which were gazetted under land reform program. They will only approve a certain, those who supported their agenda. So we must be clever. We still have the issue of our sovereign wealth fund, which have been changed to Munumutapa and taken by one person, and having the parliament removed from it. And we want to go back to this idea of separation of power. We can't have election without separation of power. We want those bodies like Zeki, even the police, to be all that independent and just implement their duties based on law. Not what we are currently having, to say the one who appoints, the one who dictates how one does the work. So, for the sake of time, let me just end up here and we'll meet again. Thanks a lot, everybody. I received my mic.
Well, thank you so much, Dobbs, for your submissions. Yeah, it looks like there's a lot more to be done as well as we talk about defending the Constitution and also moving forward as a country. Honorable Spanda, what are your closing remarks, also taking into account the submissions by Dobbs?
Thank you so much. Dobbs actually made very significant observations that this issue is not only about the opposition. In fact, there are multitudes and multitudes of ZANU-PF members who were silent in Mutare, but who are not happy with that resolution. So indeed, when we are discussing about this, we are not only discussing about the opposition, we are discussing about the majority of Zimbabweans in their different compartments, including ZANU-PF members, including the church, and the church is actually quite supportive. From the day that this initiative was made, the church has been part and parcel of the whole initiative. So indeed, it is correct. And it is also correct, as Dobbs has indicated, that for now, it appears as if we are only fighting for the non-amendment of the Constitution to change the presidential term limit. But look, there are a number of things that need to be corrected in this country. Firstly, I think the starting point should be returning our Constitution to what it was before Mnangagwa became president of this country. So all those amendments that have been done to the Constitution, we have to take them back to the Constitution so that if there is any discussion that has to be made, it has to be made by the entirety of this country and agree to say, no, the 2013 Constitution has got some issues here and there. And then those are dealt with wholesomely, but with the consent of the people. But beside that, like he has also indicated, the push will go beyond that. I think there is a need for a new social contract between those who govern us and the citizens of this country. We cannot continue in the manner that things are done in this country. There are a number of things that are wrong. I cannot actually enumerate them now because I can spend the whole day talking about them. And it is because of that, that indeed, whatever action that the citizens are going to take to stop the 2030 agenda, then the citizens will not have to end there. They will have to continue to demand a new social contract, to remove entirely the whole system that is rotten, to remove entirely the whole system that favors a certain group of people at the expense of others. We need to build a better and egalitarian Zimbabwe. A Zimbabwe where a son of a Shangani has gotten the same opportunity with the son of a Zezuru, or a son of a Kalanga, or a son of a Ndebele, or a son of a Tonga. That's the kind of society that we dream of. A society where one day a daughter of a peasant from a minority tribe can be elected a president of this country. Those are the aspirations that Zimbabweans have, and not these things that Mnangagwa is doing to try and turn us back into the pre-colonial era. I don't think we can agree to that. And this is my encouragement to all Zimbabweans that let us forget about our petty differences that we might have, and let us unite towards this noble cause to make Zimbabwe a good country for the future and the current generations. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Honorable Swanda, for powerful insights and for responding to each and every one of us this morning, engaging with us and sparing us your time. And thank you, everyone, for listening in, for the contributions